and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gilbert, roll call, please, calling the meeting to order.
Yes. Nori Nelson. Sean Samsel. Present. Kelly Lee.
Here.
Charlene Robinson.
Here.
Douglas Kenyon.
Here.
Frank Santa Cruz.
Here.
Ed Verberg.
Present.
John Bernal.
Here.
Frank Fry.
Here.
Bill Schlesinger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Gilbert. Moving on to the approval of the meeting summary. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve with an amendment. On page with the topic 6, open discussion of meetings with the Board of Supervisors. I'd like to suggest that the last paragraph when the motion was made to brief the Board of Supervisors related to the committee's recommendations, which Mr. Nelson seconded. So I have this additional language I can give. But other than that, so I guess I need to repeat all that. I make a motion, we approve the minutes with one amendment. Topic 6, where we have open discussion of meetings with the Board of Supervisors at the bottom, the last paragraph, makes a motion to brief the Board of Supervisors related to the committee's recommendations, to which Mr. et cetera seconded the motion. So I have this language here, and with that I make a motion, we go ahead and approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on. Road repair update, Jason.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We are happy to present this month's update to our road repair and preservation program. So getting started here with the list of substantially complete projects. You can see that list has grown quite substantially, pun intended. There in red at the bottom are the 4 new ones since we've last spoken. The first one, the Jupiter States Rancho Escondido project, is pretty well completely wrapped up. There's just a few minor punch list items left on that job. Expecting it to be completely accepted here within the next couple weeks. Camino Aurelia is the same way. We have 1 punch list item left, which is the final striping, which we do anticipate here within the next about 3 weeks or so for that. The Avra Valley area project is also in substantial completion with just final striping remaining on that job as well. And then the last one there, the Portillo Hills ADA and PAVE project, that is anticipated to be substantially complete this week. There's a couple utilities left to adjust on that job, and then it will be complete as well. So some ongoing projects. We've got 5, and these are the last 5 of the year. Kind of giving away the lead on the next slide after this, but these 5, Foothills, Anway, Nelson, are both about the same. They have final striping left on both of those jobs, but otherwise most of the surface treatment will be done either today or later this week. Tucson Mountain is really where the bulk of the work is happening. That job getting started with surface treatment this week. Probably about 3 weeks time frame to get all those fog seal treatments done. That job, we do have some overnight work that is starting up due to the temperatures that are going on. Unfortunately, summer is here, so having to do some work at night to try to get the cure time to work. The last two projects paving jobs are simultaneously going, same contractor. Rancho Verde Mesa Land is pretty well done. There's final utility adjustments ongoing this week and into next week, and then that job will be completely done. And then Sonoran Ranch Camino Verde, there's paving ongoing in the Sonoran Ranch subdivision. Milling work starting in Camino Verde this week, with paving starting later in the week, going into the next week as well. And then there'll be utility adjustments for about 2 to 3 weeks after that. So really looking on track for all of our ongoing projects. And kind of where we're at completion-wise for the fiscal year, you can see the pie chart is down to 2 colors now. We've got a good portion incomplete, and then the in construction portion is also going to be rapidly moving over to that complete column here the next couple of weeks or so. So about where we would expect to be as we're wrapping up the fiscal year. It does look like we will get everything done in the fiscal year on time and on budget as well. So all the extra work that was added this year is going to be done on time. Everything looks good for this fiscal year. So I could just end there, but I think there's some things that people would like to know about the upcoming fiscal year, so we'll start into that fiscal 26 program, which starts July 1. Just kind of a high-level reminder of the overall program guiding principles. I know this is kind of a refresher for everybody, but in any given fiscal year, we're looking at a maximum of 70% of the dollars going to arterial collectors, meaning a minimum in any year of 30% for locals. Up to 35% of that total yearly budget going to surface treatments, with those treatments being appropriate to the condition on that road. And then our network goals of no more than 5% of the network overall in very poor condition, with at least 50% of the network in very good condition. And I'm happy to announce we're still meeting those network goals. We currently have 1% in very poor, under 1%, excuse me, and above 69% in very good. So we're far surpassing those network goals at this point. So what does that look like going into the specific dollars for next year? Well, based on the overall network needs, we're looking at a split of 60% of the dollars to local and 40% of the dollars to arterial collector, with a total budget of $26.5 million next year. This budget does also include re-rating our roads next year, so running that PCI van again to get fresh new data for where all of our conditions are for the network. Again, these are kind of goal dollar numbers, so the exact dollars will vary based on the projects as they get bid out and awarded to contractors. So, talking about projects, kind of an overview of where we're going this upcoming fiscal year starting July 1. These are a very high-level draft projection of what the projects are going to look like. We're thinking we're going to have one hard bid project, so one competitive hard bid job, 2 curb ramp JOC projects, so using our job order contract with pre-approved contractors already, 2 jobs that are combo curb ramp and paving. So you'll remember we tried that out this fiscal year and it worked out really well. So we're going to do that again this coming fiscal year to hopefully get some more cost savings on those type of jobs. 7 standalone paving projects, and then 5 standalone surface treatment projects as well. Something to note that some of those curb ramp jobs are going to have curb ramps that are in advance of surface treatment work. So that's something a little different than what we've had in past years, but we do have some heavier surface treatment this year that does trigger that ADA requirement as well. And so some of those curb ramp jobs will have curb ramps prior to paving as well as prior to surface treatment, depending on the subdivision. So moving on, not a shock, but everything is in project preparation stage. We are looking to try to advertise our first couple jobs for the year here within the next couple weeks or so. So we do want to hit the ground running, hopefully be able to get some contractors locked down so they could start work as early as July 1 if they would like to do so. We probably have about 3 jobs for that. We'll talk about those in a little bit, get your hopes up a little bit, but you can kind of see the stats there. 184 ramps are what we're expecting this next year. 15.33 miles of arterial collector repair work, 25.5 miles of local road repair, 27.93 miles of local road surface treatment, and just shy of 22 miles of arterial collector surface treatment as well. So some highlights of those include repair paving work on Sunrise, El Camino de Tres Arroyos, Chapala, Broadway, El Camino Rinconado, as well as Hardy around the Thornydale region. A couple of subdivision highlights include the Sebadilla subdivision out on the far east side, the Orange Grove Park subdivision, as well as the Castadobes Estates subdivision. There's several others, but those are kind of some high-level highlights for some of the larger subdivisions that will be on the list. Surface treatment highlights include a portion of Catalina Highway, portion of La Cholla, La Cañada, portion of Drexel, Valencia, Derringer, as well as several different subdivisions as well. We do have one road to talk about of Nebraska Stravenue that is being done in coordination with the city of Tucson. So we're combining one road with a project that they're doing as well in coordination with them. And then some specific jobs. So I didn't mention these roads for a reason, so we can talk a little more detail. These are the jobs that we do anticipate putting out early to try to get them to start July 1. This is Oldsondueta Highway. This is a paving project out on the southeast side that stretches from just south of the State Route 83 I-10 interchange all the way down kind of into the mountains a little bit down there at the south end. Total, there's 6.31 miles of arterial collector road on this project. It is a big project right up front. Engineer's estimate is $1.9 to $2.1 million on this. And we're looking at having that project range, again, so not specifically when the contractor is going to do it, but when they're able to do it, between July 1 and the end of October. And we are working on this job. We are coordinating with our development group. There's a subdivision going in on the north end that we're going to kind of try to coordinate project with them to make sure that our job's not interfering with that developer, as well as working around some ADOT requirements, as this does tie into SR 83 at 2 different points. Another project to talk about that is going to go out is our, next slide please, our Green Valley Country Club ADA and pave project. This is the first of those 2 combo curb ramp paving jobs that we were talking about. Also engineer estimate of 1.9 to 2.1 million. There's 47 new cuts on this and just shy of 2.65 miles of road, 2.64 to be exact, of local road in the 2 subdivisions shown on the screen there. That's Green Valley Country Club and Green Valley Farms subdivisions. The curb ramp work will be going on in the Green Valley Country Club, as well as we're combining some curb ramps in the Madera Reserve subdivision that will be getting surface treatment later in the year. So this is one of those examples of surface treatment work necessitating ramps and us being able to combine those ramps in with ramps from another job. So trying to get ahead of different things and be able to get work going in a timely fashion here. Completion date on this, we're anticipating that this will be all done before the 24th of December, trying to get it wrapped up before the holidays there in the winter. Additionally, something we want to try to get started July 1. Another project to talk about, the Villages of Ventana ADA project. This is a standalone curb ramp project that will be out in front of a paving project later in the year, probably in the springtime. Engineer's estimate 750 to 950. 55 ramps in this job. And then they're looking at a completion date of the 26th of November, trying to get it done before the Thanksgiving holiday. Again, starting July 1. And this project has some coordination going on with it as well. There's coordination with the paving project that we're going to do afterward, but also with a bridge project that's going to be going on at the Esperero Wash on Sunrise. So some coordination internally with our flood control district and also our capital improvement district at DOT as well. And the last project that I want to talk about, wanted to give something of every type of project that we've got. The last one is our Foothills Surface Treatment Project. We can go to that slide. There it is. This one is not going to start July 1. We're going to have this one as an August 1, so a month later. That's due to temperature requirements. Feasibility, this job just can't happen in the summertime. We need to be able to have the crack seal when it cools down a little bit more. This one, there's a lot of roads on this one, as you can see. 10.35 miles of arterial collector, 3.73 miles of local road. Engineer's estimate is $2 million to $2.3 million with a completion date of the end of February of 2026. As you'll kind of notice throughout the year, these surface treatment projects do take a little bit longer time frame than the paving ones, just because you have to be able to get that crack seal done and have a cure period before you can get the actual surface treatment work put in. So highlights on this one are Catalina Highway, a portion of Snyder, a portion of Ina, a portion of Orange Grove, Territory, as well as a portion of River Road, as well as the Shadow Hill subdivision, Bear Creek Ranch subdivision, and Canyon Heights subdivision. So quite a lot on this project, and that there's still a few more outside of that I didn't mention. But this will kind of be an example of our surface treatment jobs this year. We anticipate them all being about that size. So, kind of wrapping up, just a reminder that you can view every road for past fiscal years as well as this upcoming fiscal year now on our road repair map. That map is updated and ready to be seen by the public. And with that, I will open to any questions. I know I threw a lot at you guys this month, but.
I have a question, Madam Chair. Thanks, Jason. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Do you have a methodology you follow when you're determining whether to package the ADA ramps with the surface treatment or do it as a standalone package ahead of time? Like, how do you guys make that determination?
A lot of time it's, one of the big things we look at is location. So for instance, the standalone package that we had, there was 3 different subdivisions in the same area that needed curb ramp work. Whereas some of the other ones, you'll only have one subdivision that got selected for that year that needs curb ramps within, a long distance. Those ones that are not located in a locale that's going to be easy to combine them, it makes a lot more fiscal sense to try to combine them with a paving project as well to kind of reduce the mob cost and reduce other things. Additionally, I talked about cost too. We have to be aware with our jock projects that we have a limit on how big a job could be. And so it's looking at where does that dollar range land in our engineer's estimate? Is it going to be comfortable enough to be able to put paving with the ramps? That's the ideal scenario, but with some of these like that one up at the Ventana Canyon area, that job would have been too large to be in our jock program if we combined paving and curb ramps. So that's another consideration for that.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
John?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Jason, thanks. It may be for you or for Catherine. The $7 million in arterial paving for next fiscal year, from what we know today on the RTA program with the arterial reconstruction item that they're still carrying in their draft plan, would those roads qualify for that money that you know of?
I'll let Catherine answer that question. She knows,
Okay.
She knows more about the RTA next proposal than I do.
There we go. Yeah, great question, Mr. Bernal. So in terms of would it qualify for RTA reimbursement, our understanding is that the capital rehabilitation, capital repair that the RTA carries would cover any sort of mill and repave. So yes, it would qualify. If it's an arterial, you know, the RTA is not going to pay for the local piece of it, but anything that we're doing under our repair for arterials should qualify.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the 3 million in surface treatments for
Right.
arterials to qualify, but, okay,
But
good.
as far as we understand, and Paul's nodding, you know, the definition has been, if you're milling it and you're putting in a new surface, it qualifies.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Is this on or not? I just speak more loud. Get some assistance work. Jason, thanks for the excellent report and for the progress this current fiscal year. Looks great. Were you able, with any residual funds, to take on a project this year?
Yeah, so this past fiscal, or current fiscal year, sorry, my brain's already moved into fiscal '26. In fiscal '25, we had 2 additional projects that we were able to put together, as well as adding a couple extra things into some ongoing projects as well. So in total, we did an extra 29 ramps from what we expected, an additional 1.09 miles of arterial collector paving, 4.35 miles of local road paving, just under a mile of local surface treatment, and just shy of 6 miles of additional arterial collector surface treatment. So quite a lot of additional work actually was able to be added to the fiscal '25 program. And you know, kind of as I was mentioning, I think 99% of that is actually done already. So those jobs got finished and wrapped up at this point already. So
Excellent, thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you, that's great news. Any other questions?
I have one more question, Madam Chair. Now that the fiscal year is almost done, did you see any trend from the beginning to the end in terms of like asphalt prices or the price of the work? Is it climbing, steady? Do you have any observations?
We noticed it, at least in our program, our projects, they were pretty stable across the whole year. There was, sometimes at the end of the year, you'll see prices go up due to availability. We didn't see that this year. It stayed pretty steady. I know the city of Tucson's been putting out a lot of work as well. So from what I've seen, there's still a lot of hunger in the contracting community for jobs at this point, which is another reason we're hoping to try to get some jobs out fast this year, to kind of seeing the desire from contractors to want to keep getting work done and availability for that, to try to keep going and maybe get some good prices here up front.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Moving on to RTA next, Director Skinner.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Catherine Skinner, the Director of Transportation, with the regular RTA Next update. So, a lot has been happening in the RTA world in terms of just structure in general. Since our last meeting of the Transportation Advisory Committee, the RTA did have a meeting, a special meeting in April 21st. 2 big topics that they're looking at. Of course, the RTA Next, which is what does that package look like? The other is the completion of RTA 1, which is the tax that we're currently under. So focusing on RTA Next, which is the item on this agenda, there originally had been an intent to try to get this out to the voters November of this year. Looking at the timeline of what that means in terms of when the package would have to go in front of the Board of Supervisors, the County Board of Supervisors, for approval to be put on that ballot, they've run out of time for that essentially, and they've decided it wouldn't be effective to try to get to November election. Instead, they're looking at a March 2026 election. Timeline-wise, what that means is the Board of Supervisors needs to receive that plan for what is going to be going on the election 6 months in advance, which is the September timeframe. Packages are due to the Board of Supervisors in order to meet, looking at this deadline 3 weeks generally before that. So we're looking at the end of summer in August is when the RTA board will have to have a plan that they have confidence that they want to move forward with. So in terms of detailed changes on that plan, has anything changed since the last time we spoke? Really there have not been any material changes as of yet based on the public input period, which happened mostly over the winter holiday season. Still some time to incorporate that. And the RTA, I believe, is really relying upon individual jurisdictions to make suggestions based on that public feedback on should there be modifications to the plan. There's limited time, I will say. I mean, even to make a March deadline, only leaves these summer months to put the plan together. The next meeting of the RTA board is June 5th, so only in about a week, there'll be another meeting where this subject will come up, as well as the continued conversation about RTA 1. One of the relevant parts of RTA 1 and why the conversation is so connected to the RTA Next is there are 4 roadway projects from RTA 1 that have already been pushed into the RTA Next program. There was insufficient funding and some scope changes related to those 4 projects, which prompted the RTA board some time ago to move them. The question is now, because it appears that there's still a funding shortfall for RTA 1 roadway projects, do additional projects need to move into RTA Next? So there's a separate conversation going on about that. The Technical Management Committee met after the April 21st RTA board meeting to discuss specifically what is the cost to complete for RTA 1. What opportunities are there for scope changes? The City of Tucson has spoken at their mayor and council a number of times now with suggestions from their Department of Transportation and Mobility on how some of the RTA projects could be adjusted in order to be completed for less money. So that was discussed, as well as some of the concerns around what funding is available. Is there more funding available either through real property that has been sold that was originally acquired for an RTA project? Is there funding on any intergovernmental agreements that could be given back because those projects are complete? Is there any regional funding? Really just trying to be as creative as possible, trying to figure out how to get these RTA 1 projects completed. So that's really the nexus between RTA 1 and RTA Next, why it becomes relevant and really timely that be determined as well. So those are really the updates for this meeting. I'm sure many of you are aware that there's been other issues with the oversight of RTA and the Pima Association of Governments that were included in the April 21st meeting, as well as a subsequent emergency meeting that they had last week of the RTA Board and PAG Regional Council. The legal counsel that had been working for the RTA and PAG for many years resigned after the April 21st meeting. Last week, they assigned an interim counsel, which will allow further progression of the plans and the ability to have that meeting next week. So if there's any questions, I'll also, Mr. Bernal, you're on TMC, you attended that meeting, but are there any questions?
Madam Chair, Catherine, thanks for the update. If the election doesn't take place is March the drop dead date?
So if there isn't going to be a gap in collections, March is the drop dead date.
Okay.
So that the way the statute is written, or the collection of new taxes, they begin on April 1st. So March will allow us in April 1st. If it moved to a May election, there would be a gap until the following April 1st, I believe. So almost a 10-month gap. RTA 1, should it not go in March, RTA 1 will continue collecting until the end of June 2026. So we won't lose that funding between April and June. What it is making a determination, will it be RTA Next funding that's coming in during that period, or will it be RTA 1? there's that continuation funding that was included in RTA Next. If it does not pass or it gets pushed until after March, there'll be a gap in funding.
And if there's a gap in funding, and I think I heard in funding, sure who I heard from, if we get to where there's a gap in funding, does that change the process that our
I am not aware of that changing anything in the process
Okay.
in terms of notification. I mean, the Pima County Board of Supervisors has to call the election and oversee it. So that timeline is the same. And in terms of the statutes, when it goes in place, what will happen is, since it's a half-cent tax, for a time, if there's a gap, the taxes will go down on what we have, and then it would go back. Because right now, it would be steady. It would be a continuation of an existing tax.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director Skinner.
Thank you.
Transportation safety, Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm pleased to be with you today. My name is Paul Casertano. I'm a Deputy Director at County DOT. I'll be presenting some information about transportation safety throughout Pima County, which includes Pima County's Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan grant that we received. Go ahead to the next slide, if you would. So today we'll cover a little brief history on planning for transportation safety in the region and at the jurisdictional level, how we're organizing to prepare to take targeted action to improve safety, funding for transportation safety work, and a bit of information about our Pima County DOT Safety Studies team. And then finally, we'll talk about the future of transportation safety throughout Pima County. So Pima County is a fairly expansive location, and it involves many jurisdictions. Our responsibilities are really anchored in the unincorporated roadways, as you know, over 2,200 miles of unincorporated roadways for which we're responsible for safety performance on those roadways. Within Pima County, we have 9 jurisdictions or tribal agencies that are participating with us in our SS4A, or Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. So we're looking at the urban, the suburban, and rural context throughout the entire network. Overall, we're looking at in the range of 50,000 crashes within a 5-year period. So quite a few crashes. I will say that even that number, as daunting as it sounds, includes many unreported crashes that are not reported to City of Tucson, which does not respond to all property damage only crashes. So many of those are no longer in the record. So that number is actually a little suppressed. What we do know is that crashes don't follow jurisdictional bounds. So we felt it was important to reach out to our jurisdictional partners as we were considering what a safety action plan should look like, and partner with them to address safety from a multi-jurisdictional perspective across all of Pima County. So planning for safety at the regional level has been helpful, but it's seen some limitations. Pima Association of Governments has been involved in some safety planning over the years. They have a transportation jurisdictions safety sub and representation from all jurisdictions. Pima County itself, as well as other jurisdictions, have built programs around examining safety and identifying safety-specific targeted projects as a project development process. For the county, that was known as the County Safety Management System, which was established several years ago. It was fairly labor-intensive to examine the safety needs of unincorporated county roadways and to identify site-specific projects to address them. We're looking to reboot that as part of the SS4A action plan, at least for the county's needs, as well as offer that opportunity to the jurisdictions as well, so that we can essentially have collaborative safety management systems across the jurisdictions that examine safety and identify safety improvements that we can pursue. So in 2016, PAG did put together a safety action, a transportation safety plan. I was at PAG at the time and was very involved in that. We set it up as a two-phase plan, essentially, where we would examine safety and identify opportunities for improvement, and then look at implementation and try to support jurisdictional implementation in pursuing safety improvements. So a lot of the activity itself was funded through state available Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP funding, which I'll say throughout the presentation, and it was intended to be ongoing and sustainable as a planning process. It didn't really pan out exactly that way. There are some definite fruits that came from that initiative, but there's also been some limitations where PAG has left it to the jurisdictional entities to address safety that they're responsible for. They've had some reluctance in stepping too deeply and to support the jurisdictions. So what we do, go ahead to the next, that's perfect. What we do know about safety performance is one of the products that PAG puts together is a long-range transportation plan. And as that was put together over the years, PAG got better and better at identifying specific performance measures to help target investments over a long-range transportation plan. As we look across safety performance for those targeted areas, we see that regularly 9 to 10 of the 13 safety performance measures are either behind pace or trending away from the target of improving safety. And those can be fatality rate, they can be bicycle pedestrian crashes. There's 13 of them currently. Those will be used certainly as a guide, but we're going to look well beyond just those 13 as we continue to advance safety forward. So one of the fruits that I did mention that came out of the PAG initiatives was that PAG developed a safety examination platform while I was as an in-house web application. So while I was at PAG, so it essentially uses the crash data that each local law enforcement department reports up to Arizona Department of Transportation. They scrub that data and then they make it available for jurisdictions and other entities to use in their examination. So PAG got that information and put it into the platform to allow jurisdictional staff and consultant groups and others that support jurisdictional staff to use the platform for safety examination. All right. So some screening for safety and examining crash details can reveal some underlying issues that give us a better sense of where to focus. For example, of the 46,000 fatalities and serious injury crashes between 2019 and 2023, we know that 25% of those are single vehicle incidents. That is a little alarming to me, but it's definitely something where we want to take good note of that and make sure that we're going into our examination and identifying projects that keep that in mind. 24%. We know that speed is a crash with roughly 24% of all fatalities and incapacitating crashes. We also know that somewhere over 28% of all fatalities involve pedestrians and bicyclists. We know that's an issue for us throughout Pima County. We know that a lot of that concentration is in the more heavily used areas of pedestrian and bicycle activity, but it's certainly an issue that we have to address. So what the PAG plan ultimately did is it did not identify specific projects or initiatives at the jurisdictional level. It pointed to safety countermeasures and best practices at the national level and said, if you have this type of crash situation or condition, here are some initiatives or remediation techniques that you can pursue to improve that condition. If you have roadway departure, you can look at rumble strips, all sorts of other techniques to help reduce the roadway departure crashes, for example. So a lot of these proven safety countermeasures are being implemented, but we still see the trend going in the wrong direction. So Pima County recognized that we really should take note of that. We should dig into that, understand why that's happening, and see how we can better get organized to turn the trends in the right direction. So that leads us to the development of a regional safety action plan concept, where Pima County essentially is the grant application lead on behalf of the jurisdictions within Pima County. We have IGAs with each of those. They are contributing to the project to help us fulfill our local match requirement for those federal funding. And they're all very willing and excited to be partnering on this initiative, as we know that it's not really easily something that can be done alone. So some of the main pieces that we want to accomplish from this, we want to create a safety culture. So we need to make sure that we're dealing with our governing bodies at each jurisdictional level, getting them to better understand safety and to understand that it needs focus and ongoing sustained investment. We know that doing that with a committee that just sunsets is not really a way to go, so we're looking to continue a standing safety committee that includes all the jurisdictions as well as other stakeholders. And then we know there's public awareness that needs to be improved. Everybody in this room and everyone you talk to has been impacted by transportation safety. So we need to create that consciousness. We need to connect with the public when it comes to that. We've engaged with our Pima County Health Department, who's very excited about participating in this initiative with us. We agree on the approach in that transportation safety has become and is a public health crisis. And so we need to treat it as such and get beyond the acceptance that these great number of fatalities on the roadways is just an acceptable thing of freedom of travel. I think we can do better, and we're committed to doing better. So as part of the plan itself, we're looking to establish crash reduction goals and hold ourselves accountable for those as we continue to monitor and move forward. Right. So as I mentioned, we're looking at a sustainable safety evaluation and improvement program. What we essentially want to accomplish as part of the safety action plan is an institutionalized, effective, and somewhat streamlined process where we can examine safety on a network screening perspective and then dive down into site-specific locations to identify specific projects, whether they be at a single site or at many sites throughout the network. We've seen many conditions where improvements to signalized left turns leads to greater safety improvements. And so you're seeing a lot of those being implemented throughout the region. Flashing yellow left turns, protected left turn movements where appropriate, those types of things we can look at from a network-wide perspective. But there's also conditions where it is a site-specific issue that needs to be addressed either through a redesign of a roadway or through multiple initiatives. The improvements, and we want to set that up so that we can make those, identify safety improvements and then pursue funding to make those realities. We want to also examine the policies, plans, guidelines, and standards of all the jurisdictions, make sure that we have consistency there, and make sure that we have the appropriate emphasis on safety within all of those documents. So we are updating our agreement with Federal Highway to extend our timeline. We got a little bit of a later start in terms of what it took to organize all the jurisdictions on IGA development and launch the project and things of that nature. So we're actually kind of early into the development of the safety action plan itself. We've done some of the initial network screening. We are looking to build upon the PAG safety examination platform called Safety Explorer to use as our safety platform itself, so that then that is available for us as Pima County and the other jurisdictions as well. And it's going to take us a little bit longer to march all the way through the process. All right. So I mentioned that we're building off the PAG Safety Explorer. We are also looking to have a component of that exists for the jurisdictions and stakeholders who are in the project development arena, as well as law enforcement and others. But then there's going to be a public-facing piece of this where we can report to the public what our goals are for safety improvement and how well we're tracking to those goals, so that we can really live up to that accountability we're talking about. All right, so in terms of trends, we want to make sure that we are consistent with the statewide safety emphasis areas. We have developed the draft crash analysis report. We've begun to look at what Pima County looks like in comparison to those statewide trends, where we are lagging, where we are performing better than the state, so that we have a sense of where to focus our energies and our initiatives. Right. We'll go ahead and skip this slide. We don't need to get too much into that, but it's a deep dive into transportation crash data, and some folks are really eating it up and loving it, and we want to make it a resource that's easily accessible by our jurisdictional partners. We know that many jurisdictions don't really have a team of safety professionals. It's a hat that is worn by a person that has several other hats that they have to perform on a regular, as part of their regular duties. So we're at a place where, if you go ahead to the next slide, perfect. We are just about ready to launch a public website. So we'll begin our public input process in earnest. Part of that website really will have just basic information about the safety action plan, but then we're looking to have the public step through a survey and identify on a map, pinpoint issues where they identify safety issues that they've experienced. We know that the crash data is going to tell us one story about safety, but the user perspective is going to tell us another story. And we need to know from the public where they feel unsafe and where they think there are unsafe conditions on the network, because the crashes may not necessarily reveal that. There may be near misses, there may be other things going on where it doesn't really show up in the crash report itself. So we're looking to match both of those together so that we can have a deeper look into safety performance and address it accordingly. So as far as funding is concerned, we're looking to develop this safety action plan, not restricted by fund source, but rather identifying the necessary safety improvements that we see are needed in the short term. We're trying to build a repeatable process so that we don't have to pick up and do an entire safety action plan every time we want to examine safety, but rather we can step through the network screening and identify areas of examination and then appropriate safety improvements to improve those types of things in a project list on like an annual basis if we can accomplish something like that. So that will allow us to understand what kind of funding might be appropriate for certain types of safety initiatives. We're not going to want to pursue federal funding for all safety initiatives, especially the smaller things that we might need to do on the network. But then there may be other opportunities where we can partner with law enforcement, emergency services, and other funding streams that will allow us to take a multifaceted approach to improve safety. So we'll look across the board at all fund sources. I will say that the safety component within RTA Next, I think just having spoken with Catherine a little bit, we were hoping for a little bit more. There was some value in RTA 1 in some of those buckets where there were intersection improvements and certain things where jurisdictions could go and say, I've got an intersection that's really been plaguing me with bad performance, whether it be congestion or safety, and I want to do some improvements. That's a great resource to go to have those. So we're looking for any of those types of opportunities where there's flexible funding to let us improve safety throughout the network. So when it comes to our current Pima County safety studies, our group is a small group within DOT. It's responsible for the majority of our safety coordination and improvement call-outs. So the group performs critical crash call-outs. So whenever we experience a critical crash on the unincorporated Pima County network, our team goes out. They examine that crash location, make sure that all the appropriate responsibilities that DOT is responsible for are in place, signage, striping, all of those types of things, and they essentially produce a report that gives a result of what the conditions are from the DOT perspective. It's a good partnership with the Pima County Sheriff. We are meeting regularly with the Sheriff's team to talk about not only crashes, but other enforcement issues throughout the network, and that's been a really great relationship that we've continued to build throughout the years. So the safety action plan essentially is looking to enhance the capabilities of our safety studies team to allow them to get from I think there's an issue here with safety performance all the way to what do I do about that issue? Do I put together a new capital project? Do I improve striping? What's the solution set for that? Sometimes that can take quite a while to get all the way through that process. We're looking to truncate that as much as possible so that we can get from discovery to realization of what should be done about it in a quicker fashion. All right. So for us to be successful in improving safety, we know that we need to commit to driving the crash numbers down. This is not an overnight task. We know that. We know that we need to, what we measure will hold us accountable. And so that's the public-facing accountability piece that we're talking about. We want to make sure that we continue to be in the face of the public as well as the elected officials. Because safety is important and it isn't something that should be put on the back burner as we're looking to go about our business. Together, we can address the public health crisis that safety is, politically, by effectively establishing buy-in from the public and from leadership, keeping a focus on saving lives, and facilitating safe, proactive practices that lead to better safety performance. We do want to link it to the safety performance so that we know where we are in the landscape. We know if we're making the right investments to drive the numbers down by tracking how performance is going as we're implementing the action plan of the SS4A action plan itself. So that's what I have for you today. I'm pleased to be able to kind of give you an update on this. It's a very important topic and one that we're planning to bring back to this committee with updates as we march through our safety action plan development.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? John?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Paul. Just glancing at your slides, I mean, I certainly appreciate the fact that this ought to be done on a regional basis, but the city of Tucson by far has, 3 times as many accidents as Pima County. How are you managing the equity and how people contribute to this effort?
Well, there's a couple things there. You're right. The way that we see it is the city of Tucson is going to get out of this what they put into it. And so as the receiver of the grant itself, it's really our responsibility to look at the entire network. But in terms of helping navigate through examination of crashes to development of projects, we're going to need to see the city involved, deeply involved in that process. And so if they want value there, they're going to have to continue to get involved in that. We've seen some decent involvement at this point in time, but we're not quite at a place where we're putting together the crash examination and the project development needs just yet. So as we get closer to that, we'll probably be, giving them an elbow here or there and getting them to be involved. We're
I know
also a
that
little
the
bit
city-
concerned about, like, the tribes, for example. Participation from those groups has been difficult to come by at times, and so we're making a concerted effort to reach out to all our jurisdictional partners because we think there's real value there.
Got you. I know the city's been emphasizing pedestrian safety in particular. Are we having any kind of experience similar to the cities when it comes to pedestrian safety?
We are. It's not quite as exacerbated as the city, and I think a lot of that does have to do with pedestrian use. But in some of our, particularly the suburban portion of the county's network, we do see some pedestrian activity that's not so great. So we're going to look at that a little bit more closely and see what we can do. We know that speeds are quite a factor, and so the jurisdictional partners have agreed that we need to examine a better approach to speed management and appropriate speed, not only speed limit signs, you know that those aren't always going to slow folks down. We need to look at geometric changes and enforcement and other things to get the speeds where they need to be for the mixing of use where we see pedestrian activity.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Paul, nice presentation, thanks. My first question, you talk about crashes, and by definition, does crash have to involve a vehicle? Or do you count bicycle crashes, bicycle pedestrian crashes?
So if a vehicle's not involved, it does not live in the data set we're examining. Getting to the other data sets of bicycle or bicycle pedestrian are a little bit difficult. We're trying to pursue those through really a well-established process, but there's not really, for example, established process to build that data set for examination. That may be something where that comes out as a recommendation as part of our safety action plan, that we need to track that better.
Okay, thanks. With all the data you have, and I know you guys do a good job of tracking this, do you have a sense of how our community is in terms of safety compared to other communities of our size and type in the country?
So I've looked at that a little bit back in my days when I was at PAG several years ago. I haven't looked at that lately, but it is something that we want to more closely examine as we pour into the data, how we, where we are in relation to our peer communities. I can tell you that there's quite a bit of pedestrian and bicycle injury and fatality in the entire Sun Belt set of cities, in large part because you have a lot of pedestrian and bicycle activity. And so that mixed with high speeds and wide boulevards is going to cause for that bad mix. So we do want to look at it, but I don't really have that at top of mind today.
Okay. And you talked a lot about safety projects, and you may have hit on this, but as you do your research, do you guys also look at changing roadway design standards for capital improvement projects?
We do, actually. We are going through that process for Pima County now. The city of Tucson stepped through that a couple years back. We have tasked our consultant group with reviewing our draft roadside design manual with the lens of safety so that they can make recommendations on how we can improve the safety pieces within that. So I don't think we're at a point where you're going to yet see a complete gigantic overhaul, but we're going to hopefully take an aggressive step toward a safer design manual.
Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you seeing the bicycle vehicle involved accidents where there are not roads that have the bicycle trails on them?
Do they take place there, is what you're asking?
Yes, or the other way around?
They do. They take place throughout the network at many locations. What we do want to take a closer look at is what bicycle facilities might perform a little bit more safely. We took a look at that some years ago at PAG. No surprise necessarily that the ones like the Loop that are exclusive to bicycle pedestrian are going to perform really well. But then there is actually a hierarchy of safety performance where that have some of the boulevards that have a safer performance record than, say, a bicycle lane next to a 40-mile-an-hour arterial. So we want to kind of reaffirm that, look at that a little bit more deeply, and then keep that in mind as we're looking at safety improvements that we can implement as jurisdictional entities.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great presentation, Paul, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Moving to open discussion of meetings with the Board of Supervisors, I will turn that over to Ed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since the last meeting, of course, there have been a lot of changes in the political arena. Adelita Grijalva has decided to move on to run for Congress. And so, of course, the board appointed a new supervisor, Andre Cano. So we took it upon ourselves to go ahead and schedule a meeting with Andre because, of course, it's important we meet with all the supervisors first, which is what our goal was. And that meeting is scheduled for June 11th. So we will have touched that base. And then I reached out to John Purnell because if we're going to schedule a meeting with the board, we need to be mindful of the administrator's office and how they might factor into all that. So I'm going to turn the other comments over to John.
Thank you, Ed. Madam Chair, members, the first thing I said to Ed when we started talking about a presentation of the Board of Supervisors is that we don't want to leave county administration out of the loop because I think that'll just set us back some. And so we did arrange a meeting with Director Skinner that I was able to attend and Ed got tied up. But I think Catherine reassured us that, or reassured me that the county administrator and the deputy county administrator for public works are staying on top of this topic. And I think as we pointed out in our letter to the board of about a year ago, May 8th of 2024, we think getting past the discussion on RTA next would be appropriate before we know exactly what we're dealing with. So that's where we sit today. I think it's appropriate. Essentially, we're going to have to bide our time a little bit, but I think, especially going back to Jason's presentation, we've done so much good work for the last 7 years, and we've got to find a source of funding that's going to keep us, protecting that investment and continuing to keep our roads in the condition that we want them and that we've heard so much from the public about. So I think that's where we sit today. I'm glad Ed got the meeting arranged with the new supervisor. I think that's important. And again, hopefully in the not too distant future, our committee can appear before the board in some fashion and advise them of our thinking on this subject. That's it.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments for Ed or John?
I just add, it's not a matter of wanting or going to go ahead and do. It's a matter of time to the board. Let a little bit of time to make a presentation to the board. We think that's a little bit down the track.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on to the call of audience, and for each person, we would like for you to please keep your remarks to 2 minutes. And I will begin with Robert and Mary Grace. Are they online? Okay. Brian Clymer, if they come on, please let me know. Okay, Brian Clymer?
My concerns have been addressed. I did not need to speak.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Orange Grove. Okay. William Calkins?
My concerns have not been addressed, so I'm going to speak.
Okay,
Madam Chair, committee,
thank
thank you
you.
for this opportunity to speak to you. This is my third visit to the committee. I was here in April of 21 and March of 23, 25. This is my second visit. I hope I'm not too late. I'm here to talk with you about Puccini Place. This is part of the Casa Sanovas Estates development, originally paved in 1976, 77. We've got people who haven't been repaved since. It's an embarrassment on our street. We've got people coming to buy a house next to me. I can only imagine what they think. I jumping ahead in my notes here, but quite honestly, folks, we really feel disrespected and left out. The entire subdivision was repaved in April 21, 4 years ago. Our street has never been touched, other than pothole patching, which if you drive up our street, you'll see that the pothole patches have come out. So it really needs a lot of help. It's really all I can say. Can't really go into more detail, and I can tell you I've been up to 48 years. I've lived here in Arizona, 18 of those, the last 18. This is totally tangential, but I've been with Pima County Sheriff Auxiliary. I've got numerous awards. I'm still active with the auxiliary. And I just say that just because you need to know that I'm not just a fly-by-night guy that drove into town from Timbuktu yesterday. I've been here a long time. So I really, really hope you can see it in your heart, whatever kindness you can extend to Puccini Place. There's two other cul-de-sacs, Giaconda and Maximilian. I've been told that because it's a cul-de-sac, it's a lower priority. When the whole rest of the subdivision was paved, the east side in April of 21, there's 9 cul-de-sacs in there that were done. For some reason, our 3 cul-de-sacs were left out. Shannon Road from our street north to Ina is really getting pretty bad. Maybe you could wrap that together, redo that little piece of the arterial, North Shannon to Ina, and catch our cul-de-sac. But I'm going to be giving, I think it's Puccina Noble. I'm going to be giving her a call on Monday. She said I could call back and see if our street is on the list. I really, really hope that you can find it in your hearts to repave Puccini Place. Thank you.
Thank you, William. You will get a response from our staff. Evan Duffy?
Madam Chair, committee members, kind of a hard act to follow. I was here in February this year and provided you a handout, a one-pager, and I wanted to orient you today is a two-pager. I'm from Oracle Heights Estates subdivision is what I'm talking about, and I pointed out again that the large grid of Ina to La Cañada to Orange Grove to North La Cholla has all been paved, I think in 2022, except for the top left grid, Oracle Heights Estates subdivision, which includes which covers Donaldson Elementary School, but it's Shalimar, Kaibar Place, and Omar, a total of about, for sure, less than 1 mile. The most recent rating, according to my discussions with the county, was 29 for a PCI index. That would have happened in 22. And the paving level that year came up to 25, the PCI index at 25. Typical decline in survey numbers is approximately a decline of 3 in between survey years. So Omar, Shalimar, and West Kaibar Place would be sitting somewhere at 25, 24. So if you look at that in the presentation earlier today, where 24 and below is considered very poor. I think we're close there on our streets. My second page of my handout is merely a photo I took about 3 days ago of West Kaibar Place, and it's running behind the school, so that's the school playground on the right. The county came about approximately a month ago and finished the pothole patching, and they did a really tremendous job, and I appreciate the work they do. In fact, I talked to a few of the workers, and they were very, very friendly, and I appreciated that effort. The roads have improved a little, but I think the best resolution on this is to have these roads paved. Especially around the school, it's an issue of the local people. I know of two elderly couples don't walk on the roads in 22, but they drive about. I've talked where the roads recently were paved in 22 to do their walking. I've talked to teachers who can't ride their bikes because the roads are too bumpy and too dangerous. So I guess I'll conclude, just say, please give serious attention to this matter around Donaldson Elementary School. Please complete the northwest corner of this larger grid of excellent paving that was done back in 2022. I hope the numbers add up for getting these 3 roads less than 1 mile on the list of projects and roads to be paved in the next fiscal year, starting July 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We will get you a response. Yes.
The drawing shows Omar is a bit of a collector street, I think, isn't it? Is that also not been paved?
Omar has not been paved, and that runs on the south side of the school,
Yeah,
connecting La Choya with Ina.
gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, I have Gloria.
Madam Chair, committee members, I live in Hillcrest Estates, and for 48 years, our roads have never been paved. We've had injuries, people falling, knee replacements, ankles, and in addition, car repairs. But we did recently have probably more than, how many potholes patched? Lots of potholes. Yes, a lot of potholes. And we are at a PCI of 36, 37. And we had sent in letters to our representative, and in 2022 didn't hear. So we've actively been writing in, see it, click it, fix it, and we've had our potholes repaired. But we need roads. Our roads are down to dirt. So, yes, and our road is less than a mile. We're hoping that Kim came up and rode the roads with my husband and had suggested that we ask to get on to another project because we have less than a mile of road. So, hoping that we can be added soon. We had elderly neighbors that wrote in, and they're hoping that the roads can be patched while they're still able to go out and walk.
I'm sorry, what's the name of your road?
Hillcrest Place, Hillcrest Drive, Hill Top, and it's right off north of River Road between First and Stone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will get you a response to this. Thank you. Brian Horch? Okay. Oh, and actually, this is part of the Orange Grove Park, so.
Brian, you still there?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon, Honorable Chair and committee members. I'll make this quick. I've had many contacts with a lot of the county over the past 4 or 5 years, and I completely understand their responsibility in using the taxes and citizens' tax money responsibly on these roads. And I just want to say, you know, I know it's not an easy job to decide which roads to be used, and I know you guys use this system. Very appreciative and thankful of how responsive you are with the C-Click fix and the pothole patching that we've done for many, many years. And I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the citizens of the neighborhood and all the residents and citizens that come to Cross and Harrelson and the churches in the neighborhood that we, after many, many years, finally got on this list to have the roads done. I know a lot of the other citizens are going through similar issues that we've been through for many years. So again, I just want to say thank you real quick for that, and special thank you to Melissa and Jason for their responsive and thorough communication that they've had with a lot of the citizens in the neighborhood. So again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Brian. That is all of the call to audience that I have. Discussion. Moving on to future items for discussion. Is there any from the committee? Okay, hearing none. The next meeting is July 22nd. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the audience as well for attending. Thank you.